right, welcome to the Hunt360 podcast. I'm E3 King, here with Luke Haney, and we got special guests here, Josh Lancaster and Tev with Polestar Outdoors. Great having you guys. How y'all doing this morning?
Doing great. Thank you for having us this morning.
Yep, doing great. Good day.
Yeah, we've got a long day ahead of us.
No doubt on that.
Well, I just let you guys start off. Tell people a little bit about your story, a little bit about what you got y'all into hunting and doing what you do.
I guess I'll start off in South Carolina. That's where I grew up, hunting, fishing, shooting. Actually ended up working as an assistant wildlife manager for 7 years back in South Carolina at hunting plantations. My dad got me into it with dog hunting first of all. Absolutely loved it. And then through the years, went back to school, got my ministry degree, and now I'm in Wyoming, Cody and Powell area with Polestar Outdoors. And our main mission is to take kids hunting, fishing, shooting, and mentor them. Most of these kids come from a challenged background, a broken home in our local chapters. And then we also work with Outdoor Dream Foundation, which is an organization that takes kids with terminal illness, life-threatening disabilities, and we give them a hunt of a lifetime that they probably would never have if it wasn't for the two organizations.
That's awesome.
Yeah. My involvement is more as a guide. I'm a fourth generation Wyomingite and just kind of been there forever. Hunting's a huge part of my life. I spend 100 plus days a year in the mountains, and not that I've shot everything I ever want to shoot, but I've kind of gotten a big buck, got a big bull, and I found it's more fun for me to help other people. And I started just taking random people I'd meet that never hunted, and that's a blast. But then I met Polestar Outdoors, and these kids really need it. It's not just, I think every person needs to experience hunting one time, regardless of their background. But the kids that come from kind of a rough place, and a lot of times they think they'll never be able to do that. They don't have the dad that taught them. They don't have the skills. They don't have a gun. It's just totally unattainable. Most of us that were raised with, parents that took us hunting, we never paid a cent. Our parents had a gun and they just took us, and they had a truck. And so you take these things for granted, but most kids nowadays don't have that opportunity. And so that's where I kind of connected with Polestar, and just I do professionally guide a little bit each year, but I'm kind of dialing that down less and less and just doing more and more with Polestar, because I get a lot more joy out of it than taking some rich guy to go shoot his dream animal. It's
I can understand that.
Oh man,
Excitement might be a little different.
Yeah, guiding's great. I can't talk bad about it. But it's work. And then when you take these kids out, both the disabled hunters or the Polestar kids, it's way more rewarding than you could ever pay. And besides, most guiding, it doesn't hardly pay the bills anyways. So I'd almost rather do it volunteer than you're not kind of spiteful at the end of the week. So.
Well, that's the cool thing y'all are doing, no doubt about it. And to have the experience and knowledge that you have and be able to pass that on the way you are is really cool. Especially, to know that you could be doing other stuff guiding-wise on the side. But for that to be what you want to be doing says a lot about you and where you're at. And I think that's really neat.
I mean, and that essentially sets it up for the generation after that, too, so we can just keep on and don't let this end.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many people that we've taken once, and they're kind of not that into hunting, but it's a free opportunity, and yeah, let's try it. And now they're certainly lifetime hunters, and they're already talking about, I want to take one of my friends, and and they'll keep the ball rolling.
So how do y'all find these kids to be able to take them, and how do you know where they are and who they are?
Are you saying through Outdoor Dream or just our students in general? So I mean, Outdoor Dream is who finds the hunters for y'all to be able to mentor? They find the kids that are terminally ill or disabled. The Outdoor Dream does, and we had 10 this past year, so they actually find them. They actually then plan the trip, get the tags, get everything for them, and then they send them to us, and after they're with us, they're ours. I mean, we have them for a full week, and we are spoiling them to death. It's just, giving them literally a vacation and a hunt of a lifetime. I mean, this past year, me and Ted did 2 hunts together, and both of the kids were able to take an antelope and a mule deer. And then we took them to Yellowstone. We took them all over, took them to the Big Cody Museum, got them to just have an experience that one in a wheelchair bound would never have the opportunity. And then another one just absolutely blows their mind of what we're just here to serve. You know, it's not for ourselves, it's for them.
Yeah. So. And as far as finding kids, you know, Outdoor Dream does send most of them to us, but the reality is they're not out there finding kids. It's a referral-based thing. You know, we put our name out there, and it's funny because you just approach someone on the street like, hey, you know, I see your kid's in a wheelchair. Can I take them hunting? And they're like, who the heck are you? Get away, you weirdo, you know? So it's really hard thing to just approach people about. You know, you can hand them a card and say, hey, you know, look us up and kind of walk away, but the biggest way we get kids through Outdoor Dream and Polestar is through past kids and, you know, past family members. So referrals is huge. You know, this podcast would be a huge asset to us in people hearing about it and go, oh man, you know, remember that neighbor kid? And he always looked like the type that'd want to go hunting, but there's no way he could go. Well, now he can. You know, tell him about Polestar, tell him about Outdoor Dream. They look it up online, and all of a sudden we're connected. So there's no better way than just referrals and getting the word out there.
A lot of our kids that are in our actual chapters, they come from our schools, churches, just family oriented, that is just word of mouth that, oh, you need to be involved with Polestar. I would say that's most of it. And then we also work with some of our police department, some of the kids that, if they don't change their lives, are going to go down a bad path. And so we also work with that as well.
That's a great idea.
So that's awesome.
And I've worked with some other mentorship programs, and I remember in one of the trainings, the first thing they said is like, you know, there's like 20 things. It's like one of them is never ever give them a weapon. And I'm like, no, actually, I'm gonna give them a gun. Obviously, I'm not just handing them a loaded handgun, you know. But yeah, we're gonna take them out and teach them how to use a gun, and then they become a responsible person with a weapon. You know, if the first time they ever handle a gun is some other kid that's causing problems or some adult that's raising them in a bad way, that's not good. But first time they handle a gun, it's at a shooting range, and it's a rifle meant to, you know, bring home meat, you know, and they just have a different perspective on what a weapon is. So.
Well, and that's very true. I mean, you're teaching them the right way to handle it. That's better than them not having any clue at all, or find out from somebody else.
For their own, making their own assumptions about it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Absolutely.
And I mean, our training process with these kids, it's not just the shooting, the killing. It's how to sight in your rifle, how to actually stalk an animal. Then after you harvest the animal, how you clean it, how you...
Absolutely.
I mean, it's not just you shoot it and buy. It's everything. We will actually, if the people want to, we'll actually process and meet with them. So and that's a lot with our students in Polestars. We actually go through all the steps, not just the shooting of it. So we're actually training them for the future, that they can do it on their own.
Yeah. One of the Outdoor Dream kids we took 2 years ago, you know, cute kid, man. He was awesome. Just, you know, he weighs like 60 pounds. He's like 14 years old. He's in a wheelchair, and he shows up and he's just pumped. You know, he's all excited, high five and everything. And then we're driving out to the shooting range, and, you know, they were talking all high. Oh yeah, I shoot all the time. You know, we've shot a deer in this state, and we shot a deer in this state. And, you know, this wasn't their first Outdoor Dream hunt. And so, you know, it's like, oh, great, this is good. Well, we get to the shooting range, and the kid's hands are shaking, and he's like almost nauseous, and like, are you all right? And he's like, oh, I hate shooting. It's so scary. Like, and he's terrified. Like, he's visibly shaking, and we haven't even got the guns out. I'm like, this is not good. Wow. And it took like 3 or 4 hours. You know, it literally went from me on the gun shooting it and him 20 yards behind me with earplugs in, and I would have him move about 5 feet forward. And, you know, then he's holding the stock of the gun while I shoot it to show there's no recoil. And then I have him reach over and pull the trigger while I hold it. It literally took hours to get him comfortable. And he'd never shot over 75 yards. You know, he's from back east. There's just nowhere to shoot that far.
Oh, no doubt on that.
And so he was bragging about this 75-yard shot he made once. And we're like 200 to 500 yards. That's kind of where we hunt, you know. So anyways, long story short, you know, he ended up killing an animal at 234 yards and was just blown away. Like, he thought it was 100 yards. We didn't even tell him because we knew he'd be nervous, and made a perfect shot and just was blown away. So it was pretty cool.
That's a heck of a progression in a matter of hours.
Oh, jeez.
Well, I mean, it's even with our disabled hunters. You know, for this past year, we had a young boy with spina bifida, and he had never made a shot over 100 yards. He shot an antelope at 412 yards. I mean, that's with our system. We are blessed. Best of the West actually sponsors us and gives us rifles, and so that's, talk about a blessing. They're top of the notch long range rifles, and it's an absolute blessing for these kids to actually be able to use these and be effective with them. It's just, to make a 400, and I'm from back east just like y'all are, and we normally don't get over a 100-yard shot.
No.
It just doesn't happen.
Right.
But for these kids, it's open country. You can actually make it happen for these kids. So it's just such a blessing.
Oh, and that's neat. And so obviously y'all are extremely plugged into what you do. And how many other mentors and people in that role do y'all have?
So in Powell and Cody area, we probably have 15 to 20 mentors.
Oh, wow.
And about 25 to 30 kids. So it's
community.
It's a community, and literally we're a family. We actually just had our Beast Feast, which is a wild game dinner that we had, and we had over 350 people for dinner. And it's
and this is a small community.
It's a very small community.
It's big city.
It's just such a blessing to be able to serve all these people that are just, it's a huge community. We're all family. We're all here together and all to spend time together. So,
and anybody that's interested in it, like you're saying, it's a team sort of thing. We got people right there guiding. We got people just kind of helping in the background, running people around, running up to airport, picking people up. There's always a need for people. But one of the big things we look for is places to hunt. We're very blessed in Wyoming to have a lot of public land, but there's huge challenges with public land. And so we do some public land hunts. But a lot of these kids, they're wheelchair bound. They're using a sip and puff device where they blow in it to fire the gun. We need to get pretty close, and we can't have the animals run 500 yards. They see you and they're gone. And so we use a lot of private land for these hunts. And we've had people contact us out of the blue and be like, "Hey, I had a guide outfitting on my land. I just canceled the contract. I want you guys doing it. I saw your video. This is the best thing ever." So, if you have some land and you have some animals on it, we're not asking to wipe out half the herd. It's probably literally one animal a year, and it would change somebody's life. So
Absolutely.
We're always looking for that.
Do y'all just do stuff out west? Do anything out east at all?
So we have right now we have a handful of chapters, and we're actually trying to go nationwide.
That's incredible.
Hopefully have one in Georgia, one in South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia. We're working on expanding.
And Outdoor Dream is everywhere.
Yes.
They're in, I think all lower 48 at least. And so if there's a kid from any state in the United States that wants to hunt any state in the United States, he can go through Outdoor Dream. He doesn't have to go through Polestar. We're still growing. We're still limited. We mostly help kids that want to come to Wyoming. And we've done Wyoming kids and other states. So it doesn't matter where the kids are from. But, if you're from Iowa and this kid's always wanted to go, deep sea fishing in Florida, Outdoor Dream can make that happen. They've got the contacts.
Awesome.
So you can get on their website and find the right people.
Yeah. It's that both of our organizations are we're all about the kids. It's just such a blessing.
It's the future.
Exactly. It's the next generation.
Absolutely.
If I was blessed with a family and a father that loved the outdoors. There's a lot of people that don't have it. And this is our opportunity to give back in a way. It's just all absolute ball.
Another great thing that's come of this is a kid a couple years ago, I was saying, shot 234 yards, shot this whitetail buck. We got a video of it through Best of the West. Post a little video of it, and I thought, a couple local people will see it. Well,
Right.
It ended up going crazy viral, millions of views.
Oh, wow.
And so, we've used that video for advertising because so many people recognized it. This year at the Sheep Show, we had a commissioner tag that was given to us by the Game and Fish commissioners to raffle off to raise money specifically for Polestar, and it went for double any other year because we played that video with it, and it just touches people's hearts and reminds them hunting's not just a selfish thing. It can be. It can be me wanting to go out there and get the biggest buck and a bigger buck than anybody else, and and that's fine. It's a sport, it's a competition, but it's more than that. It's a lifestyle.
Absolutely.
And it changes lives. And when they see these videos of the kids getting that experience, they remember, oh man, when I shot my first 2-point, that's how I felt,
Couldn't agree more, man.
Yeah, I just shot that 180 mule deer, and I wasn't half as excited as that little kid was for that little buck or whatever, So it's a good way to touch anybody's heart and remind them what hunting's about.
That's cool. So, as far as the whole mentorship and getting into that, how would somebody, that in the Wyoming area for y'all that would want to do that, how would they be able to get involved?
So they would come to me or the president of Polestar, which is Ron Vining, and we would get an application set up with them. They'd fill it out, bring it back if they are in the need, as in a broken home, challenged background, or don't have anybody that would take them out in the outdoors. All they do is fill out an application and they're a student. I mean, it's super simple, super easy. We try not to turn any down. I mean, there's come to a point where you have too many kids for mentors, but we don't, very rarely or ever have we ever turned anybody down.
Awesome.
And I mean, that's the thing. You build it and that will come. This is something that God has put into my heart that I really am very passionate about. That I'm not here just for myself. I'm here for these kids. I'm here to spread the gospel of God. Because if it wasn't for Him, we wouldn't have anything. God has opened these doors. He's placed me in Wyoming. He's placed Tev in Wyoming. Everybody. The gospel is, yes, we're about the hunting, we're about the fishing, we're about everything, but our main passion, main goal is to spread the gospel of Christ.
How often
That's who made it.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's one of our biggest things is we're taking these kids into God's creation. That's God paints a picture every morning and every night that, it's just breathtaking.
Yeah,
I agree.
And having said that, a lot of the mentors, the guides, the people involved with Polestar are not any specific religion. We're not, you got to join this church to be a part of it. There's none of that whatsoever. If a kid is an atheist and wants to come hunt with us, he can. We're here to change lives for the better, not to, get a quota at church or any crazy, there's no alternate motive.
Awesome.
And so it's very open there. If you don't feel like you're this uber Christian person or, God's not a huge part of your life, but you think you'd like to be involved with hunting, absolutely. We don't do anything overly religious.
Absolutely.
It's just, we start hunts with a prayer for safety. A lot of times, you're out there and the sun's rising, the most beautiful place in the world, and how can you not think about and talk about God a little bit? And so it's a very good approach at it.
Well, it sounds like it. And y'all both seem like you have a heck of a heart about it, a heck of a passion. I think that's awesome. Yeah. It's really cool to see that.
Yeah. It's just a blessing. It really
How
is.
often do you get to keep in contact with some of these guys? Like after they do come and experience the hunt with y'all and get to be around y'all, do you get to keep in touch?
I've talked to 3 of the fathers from 3 outdoor hunts that I really had a connection with, and I talk to them every week. Every week or every other week. Just steady communication, just checking on their kids for one. It's when the kid touches your heart, it is words don't describe how it makes you feel. It hits you. The joy that these kids have when they're in such a hard place. You take it for granted of what you have. And
I took a kid 4 years ago on an elk hunt, and he got a great big bull elk, and he has a tumor, a cancerous tumor wrapped around his brainstem. And the doctors have been very successful at getting medication that has stopped the growth of it, and he has a very, what you would call a normal life. He's able to play football in high school.
Wow.
But if this tumor continues growing, it will end his life very shortly, and every time it does move or grow, it causes major complications. Putting pressure on the brain in different places, is very life-changing. So he went on the hunt 4 years ago, and you don't know if he's going to be here next year or 6 months from now, and he does his hunt, and we've stayed in contact, and he's progressed to the point where he was recently able to get married, which he thought he'd never do, and he's got a regular job, and he's just living a normal life, and that's even more amazing. We see some of these kids that go on these hunts that don't live very long, but some of them do, and we always hope for that, and I think giving them something to live for and something to be excited about definitely can help their medical condition. The doctors are doing as much as they can, but a positive mental attitude
Goes
in the
a
kid
long way.
is life-changing.
Well, in one of our last hunts this year, we had a young boy that he was in an accident and is now has brain damage. And before he came out on the hunt, he didn't have a purpose. And while we're hunting with him, he kills a really nice 8-point whitetail. And the next thing we know, we kind of talking to him about it, and we're like, "Could you do something very similar to this, bud?" And he goes, "Like what?" And I go, "Well, how about video? Be a videographer. Doesn't need a whole lot of motor skills. Just needs to be able to hold a camera and hit a play button." And he, we found a purpose for him. We'll see if that happens.
Yeah.
But his life changed from the time that he came with us to the time he went back home, and that's what it's about. The kill is great; it's a blessing, but that's not. We like to be successful. We don't pray for a kill; we pray for an opportunity. So.
Well, and what y'all are doing is unbelievable, and the way y'all are helping these kids is amazing. But the evidence is on y'all's face that they're helping y'all too. I mean,
exactly,
and that's cool to see.
Yeah,
I tell people all the time, I just do this selfishly. I get more fun out of it, more days in the mountain. I can only hunt so many days myself. My wife says, "Okay, no more," but I say, "Honey, it's for the kids."
That's right.
Then I get another 50 days a year.
You can't
so
say no to the
it's
kids.
just a selfish, adventure. But.
Well, that's neat. It's been a pleasure having you guys on.
Yeah, man,
Tell
absolutely.
everybody where they can find you. And
so if you go to polestaroutdoors.com, we have a website, or you can go on Facebook or Instagram, Polestar Outdoors. There's all sorts of advertisement there, pictures. You can see all the hunts, all the kids, and just reach out and we'll email y'all back. Or give us a phone call. There's 3 or 4 numbers on all those, so just give us a call or email us.
Perfect. Yep.
awesome. Thank you guys.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.